Hello, friends, and welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey here with an update on Dak Prescott and his latissimus strain in his right throwing shoulder. The update, maybe not what you guys wanted, but also shouldn't be a huge surprise. Dak Prescott will not be throwing today at Dallas Cowboys practice, and in the always assumed from even beginning of preseason and training camp, he's not playing in the NFL Hall of Fame game either, which was never going to be the case for Dak Prescott. Head coach Mike McCarthy says, there's no setback, there's nothing there. The Cowboys are simply trying to be cautious, blah, blah, blah. Here's what Mike McCarthy had to say about Dak Prescott at his press conference earlier Tuesday morning. Quote, "We're being a little more conservative with his rehab. We just want to make sure this doesn't turn into something bigger." Now, the Cowboys had initially tried to push, 2 to 3 days, he'll be back throwing. I never really bought that. Felt a little bit early because, again, it is early August. There is no reason for the Cowboys to rush and push and try and get Dak Prescott out there. If Dak's not going to throw, by the way, today, there's not going to be a practice tomorrow. The Hall of Fame game he's not going to play in. The date that I always thought to kind of keep an eye on for were these 2 days, somewhere in this time frame. August 7th or August 12th. Fits much more the typical time lane for a true full recovery from a lat strain in your throwing shoulder, which again, is a minor issue. I'm not concerned, but I thought the joint practice, the last Oxnard practice, always made a lot more sense for Dak Prescott. Again, there's really no rush. You're still a month plus away from the start of the NFL season. You got 4 preseason games this year. Now, again, I don't think Dak's going to play against the Arizona Cardinals. If he does, it's going to be maybe a couple handoffs. I would be very surprised if he were out there in that game. It's the week 1 of the preseason. It's not really that impactful. This game, however, August 21st against the Houston Texans, the Battle of Texas, if you will, that is the one I'm keeping my eye out for a potential Dak playing, maybe even real snaps in that particular game. The Arizona one, we'll see. Houston at home against the Texans, I would be surprised Dak didn't participate in some capacity in that game, and if he doesn't, I'll be a bit more concerned. Again, I think we got to check in a week from now in terms of Dak Prescott's recovery to really be concerned if that's the route we're going to go. I'm not that concerned right now. Now, if you don't have Dak Prescott, well, in the words of legendary coach Tom Moore when asked about why don't you give more backup quarterback reps if it went to just help in case Peyton Manning goes down, if 18 goes down, we're effed. We don't practice effed. That's where the Cowboys are at. If they don't have Dak Prescott, they're effed. There's no way around it, as I will censor myself for producer Brett's headspace there. The Cowboys need Dak Prescott out there. If he's not playing, wrap it up, call it a season. Let's go home early, boys, because Garrett Gilbert, Ben DiNucci, Cooper Rush, they're not going to carry you to a playoff spot. You kind of almost found your way backdoor last year with a better quarterback in Andy Dalton, although I think Gilbert could hold up a little bit, but also the NFC East, in theory, will be better this year. So we'll ask this question again for you guys. What is your panic level right now over Dak Prescott? I'm still at a low end. I'm not concerned. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but we are going to keep you guys updated. So get your votes in. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let's talk more positive stuff here. Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys. The hype train is growing for the rookie first-round linebacker out of Penn State. Mike McCarthy, in speaking with Peter King, offered some very high praise for the team's first-round pick. And the way this is trending, again, it is still early, still the beginning of August, still a lot of camp and preseason to go here. I think Parsons is kind of forcing his way into closer of an every down role. And I will make a quick note here, by the way. I saw Cowboys Twitter melting down about it. He has been getting some reps with the green dot on his helmet. That does indicate the defensive play caller. However, it's training camp. They all have that. They all get opportunities there. I'm not sure how much Parsons is really getting to be the defensive play caller, the adjuster, the guy getting everyone aligned in the right spot. But I don't mind the Cowboys throwing everything at Micah Parsons because that's kind of what he's going to be as the team's first-round pick. You got to see if he's the guy. Here's what Micah Parsons told Peter King, or what Mike McCarthy told Peter King about Micah Parsons, Quote, "He needs to play opening day. You have to trust what your eyes are telling you. And when I watch him, I see a fluid and explosive player. This game's not too big for him. Some guys run 4.3. Some guys play 4.3. He's the kind of guy who plays fast. He looks like he's done this at this level before. Now, I think where Parsons is at his best is as a north to south player, when he's going and attacking specifically downhill. That's what he was as a run stopper at Penn State. That's why there were so many tackles for loss. That's what he was as a blitzer, which I think you will see him utilized as. The goal, which it's a very high goal to achieve, but I think it is doable for Parsons, maybe not year one, but maybe year two, year three, is to be a Devin White-style player. Devin White is not great in coverage. That is the reality of his situation. Levante David is the great linebacker in coverage for the Bucs. But Tampa allows White, to blitz, to attack downhill, to be in positions where he's not asked to try and be a great coverage player, because Parsons is not a great coverage player yet. Remember, he was an edge rusher in high school, only a couple years of a linebacker role at Penn State. So I think that's important to keep in mind for Micah Parsons. But with what that linebacker room has right now, with Jalen Smith being he's Jalen. I don't really know how else to describe it at this point. With Leighton Vander Esch being more of a weak side linebacker, I do think Parsons is in position, given the uncertainty around the health, for example, of Leighton Vander Esch, and the roles that I think Parsons can do as almost a hybrid middle linebacker, and also getting some Sam linebacker, DPR, that's designated pass rusher situations. I think that role makes a lot of sense for Micah Parsons in a particular fit for the Cowboys. I do think there's a very real chance that Parsons gets the most snaps at linebacker. In fact, if you make me pick a linebacker right now, Parsons is my pick. And I know it's still early in camp and the hype train's getting out of control, but what do you guys think? Are you excited about Micah Parsons? I'm not saying you got to think he's going to be a top 5 linebacker in a year, but just if you are excited or not. If the answer is yes, like this video. In theory, I should see quite a few likes on today's video. Let's hit Randy Gregory now. I will admit this freely. I'm all aboard the Randy Gregory hype train. He's drawn a ton of praise early from media, coaches, players, etc. And I am inclined to buy into that. And a big reason why is because Gregory finally gets a normal offseason of growth. Gregory's not had normal in his NFL career. A breakout year for me is fully expected, and Gregory is saying all the right things as well. Here's what he had to say recently. Quote, "Look, I still have a lot to prove. There's a lot of talk going around right now. I really believe I am having a good offseason, but there is still a lot to prove on the field. I don't want to sit here and say, did you ever doubt you would be here? I still feel like I haven't truly arrived. There is a lot for me to do." Now, in a limited sample size last year, because the previous coaching staff didn't use their defensive linemen right, Gregory had 3.5 sacks in 10 games. I am of the belief that Randy Gregory is going to double that sack production. I really think Gregory is primed for something along the lines of 7 sacks or more. I think in this particular Dan Quinn scheme, which fits Gregory very well, having a normal offseason and being the number 2 edge opposite DeMarcus Lawrence pretty clearly is all going to result in a big-time year for Randy Gregory. So make your predictions for me right now in the comments section. How many sacks this year for Randy Gregory? Is it 7, 8, 9, more than that? Let me know what you guys are thinking here in the comments section right now. Now, today's show is made possible by BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code you see right there on screen. It's Cowboys125. When you go to chatsports.com/bet and you use that promo code and you put down at least $100, you'll get an extra $125 to bet with. That's a fantastic deal. You can bet on, for example, the NFL Hall of Fame game. The Steelers right now are a 1.5 point favorite, and that kind of sounds like a 1.5 point favorite. I'll be honest, guys, I will always try to tell you the truth here at the Cowboys Report. I'm betting on the Steelers. Their backup quarterback room, although also not great, is still better than the Cowboys. Cowboys dealing with some minor bumps and bruises, so they'll be cautious on a lot of their players. I got Pittsburgh, but it doesn't matter, really. You can bet on whatever you want. You can bet on regular season games. Take over 9.5 wins this year for the Cowboys, by the way. Chatsports.com/bet. Promo code is Cowboys125. Some more training camp news and notes here I want to hit, specifically around Maurice Kennedy. He's next up here. Oh, he has drawn some very rave reviews early in camp. Jordan Lewis, dealing with his own minor bump and bruise, whatever, has resulted in Canady getting the first team slot reps. And although there is I'll call it the chicken and the egg debate to an extent here, yes, Canady's made several interceptions. How much do those matter coming off of the likes of Garrett Gilbert, Cooper Rush, and Ben DiNucci? Probably not as much as it would be if it came against, say, Dak Prescott. But Canady is pushing hard to make the 53-man roster. And that's a good problem for the Cowboys to have. Diggs, Brown, Lewis, Joseph, Wright, Canady, Robinson, and Goodwin, sorry, Burton and late addition Kyron Brown, are all in position to potentially surprise and make an impact and join the roster, but not all of them are going to make it. Even if you count Goodwin as a pure special teams guy, that's still 7 corners plus Goodwin. They're not going to carry that many. So there is still a roster battle brewing here at the position. And yes, the camp start is nice for Canady, and he's shown a bit of flash here and there, namely in 2019, since he did, of course, not play in the 2020 season, opted out due to COVID. The role that Canady is fighting for is just a roster spot right now. He's not going to start over Jordan Lewis, and we will know a lot more about his chances of making the roster, once we get to the actual preseason and later on in training camp. But make your predictions right now for me, folks. Will Maurice Kennedy end up making the 53-man roster? Get your votes in for me right now in the comment section. Y for yes or N for no. While you're down there, by the way, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've clicked that big red button. That way you don't miss out on anything here at the Dallas Cowboys Report. News, rumors, consistent updates on training camp and the preseason, of course, the actual games this regular season. So if you haven't already, join us here at the Cowboys Report by subscribing for free. Offense, I did want to give a shout-out to Sean McKeon. We haven't really mentioned Canady or McKeon of late on the channel, so I wanted to give these guys some shout-outs here. Much like Canady, very high praise coming for McKeon at training camp. Made a couple nice catches early. The Cowboys, I should say, have kind of limited Blake Jarwin's reps as he still recovers from his own ACL tear. And McKeon right now looks like tight end 3 over Jeremy Sprinkle. Now, he didn't play in terms of recording stats last season. He was active for a couple games, was mostly a special teams guy, did a couple blocking reps here and there. Wasn't really an impactful player, but seems like the second-year jump is real for Sean McKeon. So much so, I will list him as tight end 3 behind your tight end 1A, 1B, and Jarwin and Dalton Schultz. It's a good, I'm not even going to call it a problem, a good development for the Cowboys here. Will they carry 3 or 4 tight ends? I am not sure at this point, but it feels like McKeon is in position to be one of those guys at the tight end spot on the 53-man roster.